The autumn wind swept across the Texas plains as Thomas Crawford's pickup truck rolled down Highway 87, heading toward what should have been home. After 18 months battling cancer at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, the 62-year-old rancher was finally returning to Millbrook Farm, the land his grandfather had purchased in 1947, the same red soil where he'd learned to ride horses, where he'd buried his father, and where he'd planned to spend his final years in peace. If you're watching this story unfold, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We bring you incredible real-life, inspired stories every week. ****. Thomas's weathered hands gripped the steering wheel as he turned onto County Road 15. The chemotherapy had stolen his hair and 40 pounds from his frame, but not his spirit. His oncologist, Dr. Patricia Mendez, had given him hope just 3 weeks ago. "You're in remission, Thomas. You beat it." Those words had echoed in his mind every day since. Now, driving past familiar oak trees and the old Henderson Ranch, he allowed himself to smile. Home. Finally home. But as he crested the hill overlooking his property, Thomas's foot slammed on the brake. His heart hammered against his ribs. His breath caught in his throat. Where Millbrook Farm should have stood, where the modest ranch house, the red barn, the stables, and 150 acres of pasture land had been, now rose an elaborate entrance gate with gold lettering, Millbrook Luxury Estates. Beyond the gate, Thomas could see manicured lawns, palm trees that had no business being in Texas, and at least a dozen massive houses with Spanish tile roofs. A guardhouse stood where his mailbox used to be. "No," Thomas whispered, his voice cracking. "No, no, no." He drove forward slowly, his truck crawling toward the gate. A young security guard in a crisp uniform stepped out of the guardhouse, holding up his hand. Thomas rolled down his window, the September heat immediately flooding the cab. "Can I help you, sir?" the guard asked, professional but firm. This is my property," Thomas stammered, pointing at the development. "This is Millbrook Farm. I'm Thomas Crawford. I own this land." The guard's expression shifted to something between pity and skepticism. "Sir, this is Millbrook Luxury Estates, owned by Prestige Development Corporation. It's been a residential community for over a year now. I'm going to have to ask you to—"
"A year?"
Thomas's voice rose. "I've only been gone 18 months. How can—" He stopped himself, fighting to stay calm. The doctors had warned him about stress. "Young man, I need to speak to whoever's in charge here."
"Now."
Drop a like on this video if you're already hooked by this story. And comment below what city you're watching from. We love hearing from our global community. ****. The guard hesitated, then picked up his radio. "Mike, we've got a situation at the gate. Elderly gentleman claiming he owns the property." "Elderly," Thomas muttered under his breath. 10 minutes later, a silver BMW pulled up. A woman in her 40s stepped out, blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, wearing a business suit that probably cost more than Thomas's truck. Her heels clicked on the pavement as she approached. "Mr. Crawford," she said, extending a manicured hand through the window. "I'm Rebecca Thornton, property manager for Millbrook Estates. I understand there's been some confusion." Thomas didn't shake her hand. "Confusion? Lady, this is my farm. My family's owned this land for 78 years. What the hell happened here?" Rebecca's smile didn't waver, but Thomas saw something cold in her eyes. "Mr. Crawford, I'm very sorry, but according to our records, this property was legally sold to Prestige Development Corporation 20 months ago. The sale was completed, all paperwork filed with the county. This is private property now." "Sold." Thomas's face reddened. "I never sold anything. I was in Houston fighting cancer. I never signed." "Sir, I understand you're upset," Rebecca interrupted smoothly. "But I assure you, everything was done legally. Perhaps you should contact a lawyer? I really can't help you beyond that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have appointments." She turned to walk away. "Wait," Thomas called out, desperation creeping into his voice.
"Please.
Just tell me, what happened to my animals? I had 12 horses, cattle, 3 dogs." Rebecca paused, her back still to him. Without turning around, she said, "I have no information about that, Mr. Crawford. The property came to us cleared. I'm sorry." She got back in her BMW and drove through the gate, which closed behind her with a mechanical hum. Thomas sat in his truck for 20 minutes, staring at what used to be his home. Residents walked by with small dogs on leashes. A landscaping crew trimmed hedges near one of the mansions. Children rode bicycles down a street that used to be his pasture. Finally, with trembling hands, he pulled out his cell phone and dialed the only lawyer he knew, Marcus Webb, who'd handled his father's estate back in 2003. Marcus Webb Law Office. A receptionist answered. "This is Thomas Crawford. I need to speak with Marcus. It's an emergency." "I'm sorry, sir, but Mr. Webb retired 3 years ago. Can someone else help you?" Thomas closed his eyes. Who took over his practice? That would be his daughter, Jennifer Webb. "Would you like to schedule an appointment?" "Yes," Thomas said quietly. "As soon as possible. Tell her someone stole my farm." Before we continue to Chapter 2, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button now. ***. Hashtag Chapter 2, Uncovering the Conspiracy. The law office of Webb and Associates occupied a modest brick building on Main Street in Brewster, the nearest town to where Millbrook Farm used to be. Thomas sat in the waiting room the next morning, exhausted from a sleepless night in a budget-in motel. The first time in his life he'd needed a motel room in his own hometown. Jennifer Webb emerged from her office at exactly 9 o'clock. She was in her late 30s, with her father's sharp eyes and her mother's kind smile. Thomas remembered her as a little girl who used to come to the farm with Marcus for 4th of July barbecues. "Mr. Crawford," she said warmly, shaking his hand. "It's been a long time. I was so sorry to hear about your illness. How are you feeling?" "Better than I was," Thomas replied. "Until yesterday." In her office, surrounded by law books and framed diplomas, Thomas told her everything. Jennifer listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When he finished, she sat back in her chair, her expression grave. "This is serious, Mr. Crawford. Very serious. If what you're saying is true, and I believe you, we're looking at fraud, forgery, possibly elder abuse. But I need to be honest with you. Proving it won't be easy, and it won't be cheap." "I don't care what it costs," Thomas said firmly. "That land is all I have. It's all I am." If you're as invested in Thomas's fight as we are, smash that like button. And tell us in the comments, have you ever fought for something that truly mattered to you? We want to hear your stories. ***. Jennifer nodded. "All right. First things first. We need to pull every document related to your property from the county clerk's office. Deeds, titles, any sales records. Can you think of anyone who had access to your personal documents while you were in Houston?" Thomas thought for a moment. "I gave power of attorney to my nephew, Derek Crawford. He was supposed to handle my bills, take care of the property while I was gone. Derek's my late brother's son. I trusted him completely." Jennifer's pen stopped moving. "Power of attorney. That's significant. When was this executed?" "Right before I left for Houston. March of 2023. My lawyer at the time said it was standard in case I didn't make it back." "Who was your lawyer?" "Richard Pemberton. Has an office over in Ashford." Jennifer finished, her voice tight. "I know Richard. Mr. Crawford, I need you to brace yourself. There's a strong possibility that Derek used that power of attorney to sell your property without your knowledge or consent." Thomas felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. But Derek wouldn't. He's family. Family commits fraud too, Mr. Crawford. Especially when there's significant money involved. A 150-acre property in this area? With development potential? We're talking millions of dollars. The room seemed to spin. Thomas gripped the armrests of his chair. "I need air." Jennifer quickly brought him a glass of water. "Breathe, Mr. Crawford. Slow breaths. You're in remission. You're strong. And we're going to fight this." After Thomas recovered, Jennifer made several calls. By noon, she'd obtained copies of all the documents from the county clerk. They spread them across her conference table. "Here," Jennifer said, pointing to a deed of sale dated May 15, 2023. "Property sold to Prestige Development Corporation for $4.8 million. And here's the signature." Thomas stared at the document. The signature read Thomas Crawford, but it wasn't his handwriting. "That's not my signature," he said quietly. "I know," Jennifer replied. "But proving that will require a handwriting expert, and that takes time. Look at this." She pointed to another document. "The power of attorney names Derek Crawford as your attorney in fact, with full authority to sell, transfer, or encumber any real property." That's unusually broad language. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're about to reveal the shocking truth behind this betrayal. ***. Richard Pemberton drew up that document, Thomas said. "I trusted him. He said it was standard." Jennifer's jaw tightened. "It's not standard. It's specifically designed to allow property sales. Mr. Crawford, I think Richard Pemberton might have been working with Derek from the beginning." Over the next 3 hours, Jennifer and Thomas pieced together the puzzle. Phone records showed multiple calls between Derek Crawford and Richard Pemberton in the months following Thomas's departure for Houston. Bank records, obtained through emergency legal channels, revealed that Derek had received a wire transfer of $4.2 million from Prestige Development Corporation on May 20, 2023. "He kept most of the money," Jennifer said, her voice disgusted. $600,000 probably went to lawyers' bribes, fees. Derek walked away with over $4 million of your money." Thomas sat in silence, staring out the window at the Texas sky. The same sky he'd watched from his porch for 62 years. "Where is he now?" Thomas finally asked. Jennifer pulled up something on her computer. According to his social media, which his lawyer will hate that he kept public, Derek Crawford is currently living in Costa Rica. Posts show a beachfront villa, expensive cars, boats. "He's living quite well on your money, Mr. Crawford." A tear rolled down Thomas's weathered cheek. Not from sadness, but from rage. "What do we do now?" he asked. Jennifer closed her laptop and looked at him directly. "Now we go to war. I'm filing a lawsuit against Derek Crawford, Richard Pemberton, and Prestige Development Corporation. We're seeking to void the sale, recover your property, and pursue criminal charges for fraud and forgery. But I need you to understand something. This will take months, possibly years. And there's no guarantee we'll win." "I beat cancer," Thomas said, standing up. "I can beat this too. What do you think Thomas should do? Comment below with your thoughts. And if you're rooting for Thomas, give this video a like and subscribe to follow his journey. ***. That evening, Jennifer made one more call to the local news station, KTX News. She knew the investigative reporter, Diana Flores, who'd broken several corruption stories in the past. "Diana," Jennifer said when she answered. "I've got a story for you. Elder fraud, forged documents, a cancer survivor coming home to find his family farm turned into a luxury development. Interested?" There was a pause. Then, "When can I meet him?" 2 days later, Diana Flores sat across from Thomas in Jennifer's office, a camera crew behind her. Thomas told his story again, this time for the evening news. "Mr. Crawford," Diana asked gently, "what do you want people to know?" Thomas looked directly into the camera. "I want people to know that this can happen to anyone. When you're sick, when you're vulnerable, there are people who'll take advantage. But I also want them to know that I'm not giving up. That land is my heritage. My grandfather broke his back working that soil. My father died on that land. I took my first steps there. And I'll be damned if I let some greedy developers keep it. We're standing with Thomas." Hit subscribe if you believe in justice. And keep watching. Chapter 3 is where everything changes. ***. The segment aired on October 1st, during the evening news. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times on social media. By the next morning, it had gone viral. Thomas woke up to his phone ringing off the hook. Reporters, supporters, even people offering to help financially. But the most important call came from an unexpected source. "Mr. Crawford? My name is Robert Chen. I'm a partner at Chun and Associates in Dallas. I saw your story on the news. My firm specializes in property fraud cases, and I'd like to offer our services pro bono. We're going to get your farm back, sir. I promise you that. For the first time since coming home, Thomas smiled. Hashtag Chapter 3. The Brilliant Counterattack. Robert Chun arrived in Brewster like a force of nature. His Dallas law firm brought resources that Jennifer Webb couldn't match alone: forensic accountants, handwriting experts, private investigators, and a team of associate lawyers who worked around the clock. Within 2 weeks, they'd built a case that was airtight. "We've got them," Robert announced in a meeting with Thomas and Jennifer on October 15th. "The handwriting analysis confirms the signature on the deed is forged. Our forensic accountant tracked the money trail. Derek paid Richard Pemberton $600,000 in consulting fees right after the sale. Pemberton's bank records show he then paid off significant gambling debts. We've also got email evidence between Derek and Pemberton discussing how to handle the old man if he survived treatment." Thomas's hands clenched into fists. They were planning this from the start. "Yes," Robert confirmed. "But here's where it gets interesting. Prestige Development Corporation? It's a shell company owned by Martin Thornton, Rebecca Thornton's husband. They knew the sale was fraudulent. We found an email where Derek explicitly told them you were in Houston receiving cancer treatment and wouldn't be back for over a year, giving them time to develop the property before you could contest anything. Are you shocked by this revelation? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You're witnessing one of the most amazing comeback stories ever. ***. Jennifer leaned forward. "So, we can prove conspiracy to commit fraud across multiple parties. That's huge." "It gets better," Robert said with a slight smile. "I did some digging into Prestige Development Corporation's finances. They're leveraged to the hilt. The Millbrook Estates project was financed almost entirely through loans. If we void the sale and reclaim the property, they'll be forced into bankruptcy. The homes they've already sold? Those sales will be invalidated because they never had legal title to the land in the first place." Thomas's eyes widened. "So, the people who bought homes there will get their money back from Prestige's insurance and assets, but yes, they'll lose the homes. It's unfortunate, but they purchased property from someone who had no legal right to sell it. That's on Prestige, not on you." The lawsuit was filed on October 18th in the District Court of Brewster County. The document was 147 pages long and named Derek Crawford, Richard Pemberton, Martin Thornton, Rebecca Thornton, and Prestige Development Corporation as defendants. The response was immediate. Within 24 hours, Prestige Development Corporation's lawyers filed a motion to dismiss, arguing that the sale had been completed in good faith and that Thomas had waited too long to contest it. But Robert Chun was ready. He filed a countermotion demonstrating that Thomas had been physically incapable of contesting the sale due to his cancer treatment, and that the defendants had deliberately concealed the fraud until his return. Subscribe if you want to see how this legal battle ends. And hit that like button if you're on Team Thomas. ***. The case moved quickly. Judge Margaret Hartley, a no-nonsense jurist who'd served on the bench for 23 years, scheduled an expedited hearing for November 3rd. The courtroom was packed. Local news crews lined the back wall. Thomas sat at the plaintiff's table, wearing the same suit he'd worn to his father's funeral, now loose on his thinner frame. Across the aisle, Prestige's legal team filled 2 tables, all expensive suits and briefcases. Derek Crawford hadn't returned from Costa Rica, despite a summons. Richard Pemberton sat in the front row, his face pale. Judge Hartley entered, and everyone stood. "Be seated," she said crisply. "I've reviewed all the briefs and evidence submitted by both parties. This is one of the most egregious cases of fraud I've seen in my career. Mr. Chun, proceed with your opening statement." For 2 hours, Robert Chun methodically destroyed Prestige's case. He presented the handwriting analysis, showing the forged signature. He showed the emails between Derek and Pemberton. He displayed the financial records proving Pemberton's gambling debts and Derek's sudden wealth. Then came Thomas's testimony. "Mr. Crawford," Robert said gently, "can you tell the court what Millbrook Farm meant to you?" Thomas stood, gripping the witness stand.
His voice was steady.
That land wasn't just property to me, Your Honor. It was my grandfather's dream. He came to Texas with nothing but hope and worked himself to the bone to buy those 150 acres in 1947. My father inherited it and expanded it. He died there, in the North Pasture, from a heart attack while mending a fence. I found him. That was in 1995. I raised my own family on that land. My wife, God rest her soul, is buried in a small cemetery on the eastern edge of the property, under an oak tree we planted together on our wedding day. When I got diagnosed with cancer, I thought the hardest thing would be leaving that place, maybe forever. But I fought. I fought through the chemo, through the sickness, through the moments when I wanted to give up. You know what kept me going? The thought of coming home, of sitting on my porch one more time, of watching the sunset over my fields. Instead, I came home to find it all gone. My home, my land, my wife's grave, all paved over for someone else's profit. They didn't just steal my property, Your Honor. They stole my past and my future. If Thomas's words moved you, show your support. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment telling us what home means to you. ***. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Prestige's lawyer, a slick corporate attorney named Harrison Blake, tried to argue that the sale had been legal under the power of attorney and that Thomas should seek recourse against Derek, not Prestige. Judge Hartley cut him off. "Counselor, your clients received explicit information that Mr. Crawford was undergoing cancer treatment and was unaware of the sale. That's not a good faith purchase. That's conspiracy to commit fraud. I've heard enough." She looked at both tables. "I'm issuing a ruling from the bench. The sale of Millbrook Farm to Prestige Development Corporation is hereby declared void ab initio, invalid from the beginning. The property is restored to Thomas Crawford, effective immediately. Furthermore, I'm ordering Prestige Development Corporation to vacate the property within 90 days and remove all structures built thereon, restoring the land to its original condition as much as possible. Prestige will bear all costs of restoration. As for Mr. Derek Crawford and Mr. Richard Pemberton, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Arrest warrants will be issued. Mr. Crawford, your farm is yours again. Case closed." The gavel came down. The courtroom erupted in applause. Thomas sat frozen, unable to believe it. Jennifer hugged him. Robert Chin shook his hand. "We won," Thomas whispered. "We actually won." Subscribe right now if you're celebrating this victory with us. This is why we share these stories, to show that justice can prevail. ***. But Thomas's brilliance didn't end with a legal victory. Over the next 3 months, as Prestige dismantled Millbrook Estates, Thomas made a decision that shocked everyone. He held a press conference on December 10th. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," he told the gathered reporters. "I got my land back, and I'm grateful. But 37 families lost their homes because of Prestige's fraud. They're innocent victims just like me. So, I'm not rebuilding my old farm. Instead, I'm creating something new, the Millbrook Community Trust. I'm dividing my land into 40 parcels, 37 for the families who lost their homes, at cost, with affordable payment plans. 2 parcels will be set aside as public parks. And I'm keeping 1 small piece for myself, just enough for a modest house, and the cemetery where my wife rests. This land was always about community. My grandfather believed in that. My father believed in that. And I believe in that. We're turning something terrible into something good." What do you think of Thomas's decision? Comment below. And if this story inspired you, subscribe and share this video with everyone you know. ***. The response was overwhelming. The families wept with gratitude. Local businesses donated materials for building new homes. Volunteers from across Texas came to help with construction. Derek Crawford was arrested by Interpol in Costa Rica on January 8, 2026, and extradited to face fraud charges. He was eventually sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution, though most of the money had been spent. Richard Pemberton pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud and was disbarred, sentenced to 6 years in prison. Martin and Rebecca Thornton's company collapsed. They filed for bankruptcy and faced multiple civil lawsuits from investors. By spring of 2026, the Millbrook Community Trust was thriving. 37 modest but beautiful homes dotted the landscape. The 2 public parks featured playgrounds, walking trails, and a community center. And on a small rise overlooking it all stood Thomas Crawford's new home, a simple ranch-style house with a large porch. On April 12, 2026, the community held its first annual Millbrook Festival. Over 300 people attended, residents, supporters from across Texas, and media covering the remarkable story. Thomas stood on the stage, looking out at the crowd. At 73 years old, he'd had a birthday in February. He looked healthier than he had in years. "A year ago, I came home from fighting cancer to find my life had been stolen," he said into the microphone. "I could have given up.
Could have walked away.
But I didn't, and I want to thank everyone who stood with me. Jennifer Webb, Robert Chen, Diana Flores, and all of you who believed in justice. My grandfather used to say, 'The land remembers who loves it.' This land remembers. And now it's home again, not just for me, but for all of us. Welcome to Millbrook. Welcome home." The crowd erupted in cheers. If this story moved you, we need you to do 3 things right now, asterisk.
1.
Subscribe to our channel for more incredible real-life inspired stories, asterisk, asterisk.
2.
Like this video and share it with your friends and family, asterisk, asterisk.
3.
Comment below and tell us, what's the most important lesson you learned from Thomas's story, asterisk, asterisk. That evening, as the sun set over the new Millbrook community, Thomas sat on his porch with a cup of coffee. Jennifer Webb and Robert Chen sat with him, watching children play in the distance. "You did something remarkable, Thomas," Robert said. "You didn't just win. You turned a tragedy into a triumph for an entire community." Thomas smiled, watching the orange and pink sky. "My grandfather would have liked this. A community, people helping each other. That's what land is for, not for luxury estates or million-dollar profits. It's for people to build lives on, together." The wind rustled through the newly planted oak trees, 37 of them, one for each family, planted in a circle around the community center. And in the distance, in the small cemetery on the eastern edge of the property, under the original oak tree that Thomas and his late wife had planted 50 years ago, wildflowers were beginning to bloom.
The end.
Thank you for watching Thomas's incredible journey. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. We bring you powerful, real-life inspired stories every single week that will move you, inspire you, and restore your faith in humanity. Asterisk, asterisk. Like this video, comment with your thoughts, and tell us what city you're watching from. We love connecting with our global audience. See you in the next story.